So many of you will know by now that Gamescom is well underway. Yesterday, they put together this opening night event, basically an E3-style press conference, but for Gamescom, hosted by Jeff Keighley. And while all that was happening, what you may have missed is some interesting news regarding Insomniac Games. This is a studio that's currently best known for their most recent release, which is Spider-Man for PS4. A huge amount of critical acclaim. It sold so many units. And there's some news in regards to a partnership that Sony and Insomniac have engaged in. Now, Insomniac has a long history with Sony and PlayStation. As you can see right here, they're known for titles like Spyro, Ratchet and Clank, the Resistance series, and Sunset Overdrive is kind of forgotten, but I know some people enjoyed that experience. And, of course, Marvel Spider-Man. So they've made some pretty great games throughout the years. They've worked closely with Sony throughout all this time. And, you would think that they're basically a part of Sony, that they're kind of like a first-party studio, but it turns out they're not. But that marriage has finally been sealed for real on August 19th, yesterday, while Gamescom's opening night was going on. So as stated here by the PlayStation official Twitter page, quote, "Big news, Insomniac Games is joining PlayStation's worldwide studios. We are honored and thrilled to join forces with this legendary developer. Please join us in congratulating our friends and partners at Insomniac." Yeah, this is finally happening. And we can see right here a more proper sort of press release that provides more details on the matter. It reads, quote, "Sony Interactive Entertainment announced today that SIE has entered into definitive agreements to acquire Insomniac Games." So they're buying the studio outright. It's now officially first party. A leading game developer and long-time partner of SIE in its entirety. Insomniac Games is the developer of PlayStation 4's top-selling Marvel Spider-Man and the hugely popular PlayStation Ratchet & Clank franchise. Upon completion of the acquisition, Insomniac Games will join the global development operation of Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios. Insomniac Games is the 14th studio to join the SIE WWS family. This addition furthers SIE's continued commitment to creative excellence and innovation in game development exclusively for the PlayStation platforms. All of their titles are now exclusively to PlayStation. They're going to dedicate all of their resources to creating PlayStation titles, and Sony is going to help in that endeavor by funding them and giving them the resources and the support necessary for them to really flourish. So yeah, it's a really cool partnership here that I think is going to be mutually beneficial. The press release continued. Based in Burbank, California and Durham, North Carolina, Insomniac Games is the award-winning studio behind many of PlayStation's most highly successful franchises, including Spyro, The Dragon, Ratchet & Clank, and Resistance. Most recently, Insomniac Games, in partnership with SIE and Marvel Games, launched Marvel Spider-Man, one of 2018's most highly acclaimed PS4 games. Marvel Spider-Man has sold more than 13.2 million copies worldwide as of July 28th, 2019. Holy crap, that is pretty insane. 13.2 million copies. So just to kind of give you an idea of the journey of this game, we begin here with launch day, or 3 days after launch, so this is September 2018. 3 days after launch, it was reported that the game had already sold 3.3 million copies. Then we move on to January 9th, 2019, and by that point, the game had sold 9 million copies, so it just kept selling and selling and selling. And then after that, on July 18th, 2019, it was reported that Marvel's Spider-Man had officially become the best-selling superhero video game ever. Now, the crazy part about this is that Spider-Man is a PS4 exclusive title. It trumped all of these other games just by selling on one platform, which goes to show how well received this game was, how much people loved it, and just how much good reception goes a long way in ensuring that a title performs well, that it really garners a lot of attention. And also, fuck anyone, looking at you, EA, who says that single-player games are dying. Here is another living proof that that is Just a complete lie. Now, here we have an article by Hollywood Reporter. They interviewed Shaun Layden, who is the chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment, and they talked a bit about what this partnership entails, how long it's been planned for, what this means for the future, etc. So they began by asking, how long has this deal been in the works? And Shaun replied, Insomniac has been a partner of ours for over 20 years now, and have been working with Ted and the team since the days of Spyro the Dragon. Since then, they've gone on to do Ratchet and Clank, Resistance, most recently Spider-Man, which by all angles looks to have been quite a successful endeavor. Yeah, that's underselling it a little bit. So we have known for a long time. The most important thing about acquiring talent or studio is, do they fit into your culture? Do they match with the studio that you are and the one you wish to become? Insomniac is the perfect fit for worldwide studios. They bring quality and innovation, the two things that we lean into every time and all the time. I can't say enough good things about Ted and his team. We are just super delighted. So the culture is really important because, you know, when you hear of EA acquiring a studio, you kind of groan and fear the worst for that studio, right? I mean, given what's happened with all those studios that EA has killed off, given what's happened to BioWare, the downfall it's seen since it was acquired by EA, that corporate influence seeping in. Sony has a fantastic creative culture where they really let the developers do whatever they want creatively, where, you know, this is a publisher that gives these developers all the creative support and freedom they need so they can output the best product, and so that these products can kind of make money off of their merits rather than through these shady monetization schemes, through these manipulative methods. Sony is all about the art of games, not the exploitation of games. And so, you know, Insomniac has proven itself to be a phenomenal creative force, and paired with Sony, a publisher with the right mindset for games, I think the two cultures really do meld together excellently. Any studio acquired by Sony is, in my opinion, it can be seen as good news, whereas when EA acquires a studio, I fear for the future. And then Shaun was asked, why now? Did the success of Spider-Man weigh into the decision? Shaun said, sure, Spider-Man underscores how consequential Insomniac is to gaming in the overall. They are an impact maker, they're a style setter. They are just a clutch of studios in that independent sphere who are at an accomplishment level of something like Insomniac. They are a very rare bird, and we felt that this was the time to formalize the relationship. Yeah, what they pulled off with Spider-Man is phenomenal, and the track record they have with Spyro and Ratchet and Clank. Yeah, this is definitely just one of those studios that we absolutely need to reinforce, that we need to encourage, because they have the right mindset, they have the right intent, and they have the talent and the creative drive. So what changes for Insomniac in your relationship now that they're under the fold? To that, Shaun had this to say: for Insomniac themselves, nothing much changes at all. They're a fantastic studio. They deliver fantastic content. I don't think anyone will go in there and tell them how to make a game. Thank you! Thank you. That's how you do it. No corporate mandates, nothing of the sort. No changes. Just let them do their thing, you know, and they will shine. Kind of like how, with Apex Legends, that was EA not interfering. That was a game that, according to Respawn, EA had no hand in, and that game turned out well. You know, there's been some recent controversy because of the way devs responded to a recently egregiously monetized event. But I'm just, in terms of the launch that Apex Legends saw, I mean, you could tell immediately that EA didn't play much of a role in that game. And yeah, so with Sony, they've always been about, you know, not going in there and telling people how to make a game. That's why Kojima partnered up with Sony, because, you know, after Konami, with their corporate mandates and all that harrowing experience Kojima went through with that company when creating Metal Gear Solid 5, he wanted to find a publisher that he was familiar with and understood creative freedom and allowed Kojima to do his thing. And so Kojima went with Sony because they're known for that. And right here, yeah, they're saying, I don't think anyone will go in there and tell them how to make a game. They're just going to let Insomniac be Insomniac. Couldn't ask for anything more. They certainly got game of their own. I think what Worldwide Studios provides to them is a closer relationship to the innovation, whether it's in technology or game design that we're doing here. So yeah, they're providing the resources because Sony's a major company and they have, performance capture studios and different engines that they can kind of supply or whatever it is. Insomniac, I'm sure they have their own engine, but if Insomniac needs something to bolster their current projects, Sony can step in and kind of help with that. And it's just a symbiotic relationship. We've got a number of teams with extraordinary talent in game creation. We're in a place now where all of our teams are trading technology and techniques and innovation across studios to get better and stronger. I think there's only additive natures to it. There's nothing there that will change their culture or their ability to deliver the fabulous games they've been doing for 20 years. I love everything that I'm hearing right now. What does this acquisition mean for a series like Sunset Overdrive, which was a Microsoft exclusive? Shaun responded with, that was a great experience for Insomniac, and they learned a lot through that as well. As far as the IP itself, we really haven't turned over the files on that one to see what that actually means. To be honest, we like what they're doing. What they've been doing in the Spider-Man franchise and things like Ratchet and Clank are certainly vital series in the present and future. That's what we're concentrating on. So it doesn't look like Sunset Overdrive is going to see a resurgence anytime soon, but Ratchet and Clank, still a major franchise. Spider-Man, if you play the game, you'll know that a sequel is inevitable. And with how well the game sold, definitely, just from a financial perspective, a sequel is inevitable, but also from an artistic and creative standpoint, there's more to be told in terms of the cliffhanger they left off with this title. Are you concentrating on existing IP or creation of new IP with Insomniac? Shaun responded, all the studios at Worldwide Studios manage their franchise plans and manage their IP in a way they see best. Hell yes! It's just refreshing to hear this after all the, other bullshit going on. Insomniac will be no different in that way. We'll look at what they walk into the fold with. If they have ideas around new game concepts, which every team does, we will look forward with great anticipation to what the future brings. And finally, what is Sony's approach to acquiring studios? Shaun said, we look at this from a Worldwide Studios perspective, which has the encouragement and support of Sony Interactive Entertainment, my leadership, and Sony Corporation has been fully backing on this. Looking at something like Insomniac, an acquisition of a studio of that caliber and size was really a way for us to continue our strength and innovation and quality with a heavy leaning towards the power of narrative, the power of storytelling. These are things that, if you look across our catalog, we do a lot in this genre. We are very grateful for that indeed. We want to tell stories. We want to create a place where game developers can bring their vision to life and tell stories that impact the emotions and interests of our gamers. Insomniac fits perfectly into the division that we created at Worldwide Studios here, leaning into first and best. So the general reception has been really positive. Everyone's super excited about this. I mean, we've got Brian Inithar here, who is the project lead on Spider-Man, saying absolutely thrilled to join the Sony family. What a day. And, Herman Holst from Guerrilla, he's saying, welcome, Brian. And the folks over at Santa Monica, the God of War developers, they offer their congratulations. This feels like a very tight-knit group who have the same goal in mind of driving the creativity and the boundaries of this art form forward. And so it's just good to see how welcoming everyone is. This really feels just genuine and like a tight family. This doesn't feel super corporate. I mean, there are obviously some corporate intentions behind this. It's a business, but it does feel like there's some genuine intent to do some good for the games industry with this kind of partnership. And everyone's super happy, from the people within Insomniac to the folks over at Sony to the, I think, consumers who have seen what Insomniac is capable in conjunction with Sony. I'm just super happy for everyone. I cannot wait to see the fruit this all bears in the long term. I cannot wait for Spider-Man 2 and more Ratchet and Clank and whatever new franchises. We need some good news for a change. I know a lot of people keep telling me that, and this is good to hear, I think. This is one of those business partnerships that make sense, that I think everyone will ultimately stand to benefit from. Anyway, there you have it, folks. These are one man's thoughts and opinions on Insomniac joining the Sony family. I'd love to hear what your take is on this development in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update and discussion video. Thank you for tuning in. To be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out.